It's your Geordie Journos, 2/3 of us anyway, outside St James's Park again, squinting in the Friday evening light, because we tried elsewhere in the car park, it's just too dark, so we thought we'll sacrifice our vision so you can see us.
So we're just talking into the blank here.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you can see.
I hope it's
right.
recording.
Yeah, fingers crossed it is.
But yeah, Friday evening waffle, Liam. What do you want to talk about? What's to talk about, really?
I think you've mentioned it. We had a little chat off air.
Transfer window's open now.
Yeah, transfer window's now open, and I think probably the biggest story that's come out this week has been the Michael Olise thing. Michael Olise kind of ties into a lot of other issues in and around that position, whether it be Miguel Almirón leaving the club, whether it be Yankuba Minteh coming back to the club potentially, or leaving the club as has been suggested by some other journalists. Seems like a decent place to have a little chat, and there's been a lot of people in the community. Come on, we've got to say.
Go on then.
We've got a Facebook page. Anybody out there watching the Geordie Journos and you like the community that we have on YouTube, we thought we'd set up a little bit of a safe space almost to have a chat.
Say what you like.
You can get divvies who come in on the rest of social media, can't you really? Let's be honest about it. But we've got a private group. We've got control of who comes in, who comes out. And we'll feed little bits of our content in there, and we want all of you to get involved in the conversation. Let us know what you think of what we're doing. Let us know what you want from these videos, and also, just like I say, gives everyone a safe space to have a chat about Newcastle United, which is essentially all we do on here. Yeah,
and speak with us directly as well, opposed to just us replying to comments with our little initials, as we sometimes do.
Yeah, it gives a personal. You can see it's us at the other end of it.
Yes. And
4 Rivers Financial Planning.
Yeah, we'll get with that.
Get the T's and C's out the way. 4 Rivers Financial Planning for all of your investment and pension advice. It'll be above my head, I think, this time.
It sometimes flips. We'll
Does
see.
it? We'll see. It could be on Dom's forehead this time. I don't know. But do check the bio out.
I should probably get a bit further back. You reminded me. It'll fade in now.
Right. Yeah, it'll be there. For all your advice, just check the bio. All the details are there. Right.
The right winger situation. Newcastle top target this summer. Our information from a very early stage has been Newcastle are after a right winger. You could argue it should have been addressed last summer, but then the argument as we've discussed with Jordan, was Harvey Barnes was signed, and then it gave Anthony Gordon an option to play on that right side, which he did a couple of occasions last season and did very well. I think in the Spurs game in particular was very good in that position, but still an area Newcastle need to improve on. Do you think, when you look, Miguel Almirón, Jacob Murphy, they're your top 2 choice right wingers, and it's an area that hasn't really truly been addressed since the takeover.
So it needed addressed last summer, as you said, and unless the grand plan, this roll the clock back 12 months, unless the grand plan was to play Anthony Gordon as a right winger, which, listening to him talk since, it always suggests that he was going to play on the left, and that was his strongest position. So I don't necessarily believe that, which if you'd asked me that 12 months ago, I probably would have thought that, because then I would have seen maybe Joe Linton playing on the left, as I've mentioned on previous Geordie Journos videos. I think that's his strongest position. I think we're slightly moulded as a team now, where Joe Linton's strongest position probably is in that midfield now, whereas it wasn't before. Anthony Gordon just brings an incredible...
He's made that position as well, where you were like, ooh, who's going to fill in for Alan St Maximin, replace that gap he's left, and obviously Joe Linton was so strong out there. And Anthony Gordon's just come in and raised the standards completely.
That's why it didn't make a lot of sense, because he kind of had that already. You needed to strengthen on the right. The right was a priority to me, and they never went about it. Look, they've got Jacob Murphy, who'll do a job for you 3 or 4 games. If you rely on him for 6 or 7, the cracks start to show. Miguel Almirón's very similar. He'll do a job for you at times during a season. He'll have his purple patches becoming less and less purple. Is that a thing?
Yeah.
They are. And I think I'm always... Look, I've talked a lot on here about the idea of binning sentiment, and I think that's the way on this video, this is the way I'm going to talk about that. I think with Miguel Almirón, sentiment needs to go in the bin. For the money that he cost, 60 million, don't believe all the Mike Ashley rubbish of 21 million. It was never 21 million. It was 16 plus a couple of minor add-ons.
I thought you said 60 there.
No, 16. Plus a couple of minor add-ons. It'll be lucky if it's gone up to 18 million. He wasn't a record signing. I think he's done well. For that money, for the goals he scored, for the performances he's put in. He was reasonably transformative when he first came in under Rafa, and he had his really good patch, and he scored a goal in the Champions League and all that kind of stuff. He's been a good player, and to get 5 years out of a player for 16, 17 million is good business. But I think the time is up now. I think Newcastle need a significant upgrade. You just look across the rest of the front line, and it's elite.
Yes.
I wouldn't class anything Newcastle have on the right, with all respect, elite. I think you go into the midfield, there is flashes of elite as well.
Yeah, no.
And flashes of somewhere in between elite and average Premier League. I think there's a good mix in there. But I think the right wing is the one where you look and say that needs a significant upgrade.
Jacob Murphy and Miguel Almirón could get in, would not look out of place in any bottom half Premier League team.
No?
Is that fair?
No, I think that's more than fair. And that's why I think the one thing to come out of this week that I think most people out there will now be realising, and we've heard little bits behind the scenes of where they were targeting and what the priorities were going to be this summer. But it's nice to see the firm interest in Olise come out in the way that it has. Now, I'm not going to stand on here and say Newcastle United are in the driving seat for that. I think anybody with 3 brain cells out there will know that they're not. Chelsea have been working on. You've been mentioning that I talk about Chelsea a lot in these videos, but
yes.
Look, I'm going to get it out my system.
No, I think you're right here.
Fair.
This is fair.
Chelsea have been working on that deal for 18 months, 6 months prior to agreeing a deal with them last summer. Newcastle United are playing massive catch-up here to get Olise. They almost need Chelsea to fumble that transfer in some way, shape or form for them to be able to have a chance. There's other clubs interested. Michael Olise is somebody that is attracting interest from all over the Premier League. He's on the radar of every single team at the top of the division. Yeah. And this is kind of, it ties into what I think about Newcastle, where they are in this project at the moment. They sit in a position where they can't yet offer major money, and they can't yet offer trophies and success. They can't offer Europe this time, but I still don't write too much on that. I think you can still sign players without that. It's the success and money. They're not able to offer either of them, but they're fighting for the same players as teams who can offer it.
Yeah.
And you're always going to lose in Newcastle with Newcastle's hand at the moment. They'll win the odd one, but I think it shows good ambition that that's where they're at and that's where they're looking. I'd be surprised if it's Michael Olise that turns up at Newcastle United. No. The one that I've got a feeling on is Gibbs White. Yeah, I think he's possibly one, and I don't know where that
different
fits
sort
in.
Of position.
He's a very different type of player. I actually think he can play the position and suit it reasonably well in our team, but he's not an Almiron replacement, and he's not an Olise as such. But I do think that might be a direction that they go later in the window.
Yeah, you're talking about elite. Would you class your Gibbs White, your Michael Olise's as elite players?
So I would. I think Michael Olise walks into every single team in the Premier League.
Yeah,
I do. I think he's
on form. He probably does.
So if that deal to go to Barcelona somehow gets done, I don't know how Barcelona do that deal, then I think Michael Olise suddenly becomes a real prospect at Manchester City. I think that's very real. I think it'd be a perfect player. He might be then turned into a pet robot who then doesn't score goals, like Jack Grealish has been. But I think that's a perfect deal for somebody like Manchester City. I don't think there's many better players in that position when he's fit. He does have fitness issues, which seems to be the case for everybody. Yeah. I'll very much say that there's a similar player at Wolves in Pedro Neto who fits that bill perfectly. But again, injury issues. It happens with these type of players in these positions. Touch wood, Anthony Gordon hasn't had any of that yet, but once these kind of fast fibre tissues, the muscles, when they go, they keep going in the same places, and it's difficult. Callum Wilson has that. Others who rely on that pace and in those positions can get injuries like that. Michael Olise is struggling a bit with those injuries. Neto is getting them all the time. It happens. But would I class him as absolutely elite? I wouldn't say.
He's 22 though, isn't he? So
yeah, I wouldn't say it was.
He's got a high ceiling to still fill.
I would say it's very much. And you mentioned Morgan Gibbs White as well. I just take you back to last summer, and you look at the players who. I watched a lot of that under-21s tournament last year. I was feeding it back to you guys all the time through the groups, and I remember calling Tonali quite early and not being sure about what type of position, how he'd fit in Newcastle. But I would say Gibbs White impressed me a lot more than Anthony Gordon did in that tournament, and so did Emile Smith-Rowe as well, who will also be on the move. Yeah. I thought they were England's standout players in that tournament. Probably not Anthony Gordon, even though he got the plaudits.
Yeah,
controversial opinion.
It is, yeah.
But let's see what he's done this season. look at the levels that Anthony Gordon's gone into. I think with the right conditions and the right coaching and the right players around him, I think Gibbs White's got the same ceiling.
Yeah. Just on Anthony Gordon, it's a complete sort of segue here. Me and Liam just meeting up to watch the Euros, start the Euros tonight, and hopefully he'll have a good tournament. England's first game on Sunday, Scotland playing tonight. Hopefully we'll get this video up tonight. But yeah, just going back to Miguel Almirón, because you had some very solid information back in January that a deal was basically set up for him to leave.
Yeah, it was a deal done to go to Saudi Arabia. There was paperwork filed. It was all... Things don't stay much of a secret in that kingdom in some respects. As unconnected as some may try to make you believe that the Saudi kingdom is, especially with its football teams, they're all very, very connected. Whether they're owned by PAF or not, they all kind of... Things go through governmental departments and get signed off. And the top and bottom of it is I had really solid information that Almiron deal was done, and they couldn't. It was purely a case of not being able to convince a player. I think that interest, from what I'm led to believe, I don't think that interest's waned. I think it's still there. I'm not saying it's the same clubs. I have no idea, but it sounds like it's still a goer. We think Kieran Trippier's got a potential deal on the table. That's the information that obviously Jordan talked about in the last video. Who's not here, of course, but we might get him on another video this weekend.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, so I think there's a deal to be done there. I'm not sure the player wants to go.
That's the thing, isn't it?
But summer's a long time. It's different to a deal coming to fruition on the 10th of January and suddenly having to get somebody away in 21 days. Yeah. You've got a long time here to make sure that the deal's done. Goes all the way up to September, and summer's always an easier one to do a deal in, whether that's buying or selling, just because you've got that time and there's not that intense pressure on it.
Yeah, I think Miguel Almirón, like you say, I would expect him to leave this summer, but he's a player who I think history 10 years time reflect quite kindly on him. You look at the goals he's scored, it'll be a highlight reel, scoring in the Champions League, scoring that great run he had, was it like October, November 2022?
I've got very dark, yeah. Are you blacked me out?
So yeah, I think Miguel Almirón, for all his faults and inconsistencies, will be a player in the future we'll remember quite fondly. And as you're like man marking me.
I'm trying to get this.
It's like a corner's coming in. But yeah.
Should we stop and cut to go back to the sun so we can do this last 5 minutes and me not look like I'm greyed out?
Yeah, we may.
We'll catch you in a sec.
We'll be back. Just like that, we're back. You feeling better, Liam? Feeling brighter?
I can't see again, but at least you can see me.
So yeah, just on Miguel Almirón, I think he's a player who I would expect to leave this summer. I think he should leave this summer. It would be a wise move for Newcastle to sell him and upgrade in that position. And I've said previously, when we were just round the corner, that I think Jacob Murphy is a good squad player, and I'd sooner him stay than Miguel Almirón, just because of his versatility, what he offers. There's a predictability to Jacob Murphy, but almost a degree of certainty, like you know what you're going to get from him, whereas Miguel Almirón can be a bit of a headless chicken, is probably a bit of an unfair way to put it, but
I think he has to be walked through a game.
Yes, whereas Jacob Murphy is more dependable.
He is
what I'm trying to say. But moving on, another maverick winger, which we haven't had chance to really look at this season. Last season, we may get a chance in pre-season. Yankuba Minteh signed last summer, around this time last year actually, from Odense in Denmark, £6-7 million, instantly loaned out to Feyenoord, had a great season at Feyenoord, 11 goals for them, scored in the Champions League, won the Dutch Cup. 19 years old, bags of potential, but a very uncertain future at Newcastle. We may not even get to see him.
So I think there's two things with this. I think there's you can just purely look at the stats, so you can actually analyse what the player did.
Yeah, you watched him a few times.
I watched him a few times, and I saw a very, very raw footballer who looked. I remember saying that to you guys the first time I'd seen him, which was during the African Cup of Nations, and I said he looks a million miles away, even from the level of Almiron. And we're only talking 6 months ago. I think he looks like he's got a lot to learn in terms of his final product. I think you dig a little deeper. Don't just look at what you think you see on the highlights reels. Dig a little deeper. See what the Feyenoord fans were saying about him. And towards the end
journalists
of the
journalists,
yes. And towards the end of the season, they were won over. They were happy. He showed a development from the start to finish, which is exactly perfect. And it was a great loan for him.
Yes.
But there still wasn't a sense when he left that it was an absolute, complete Premier League ready player. That there was still those really rough edges.
Yeah.
Lightning pace. And the way I've said it, and I said, yeah, look at it. Newcastle United were bringing Matt Ritchie on here 3 months ago. So if you're having to bring Minteh on, who was raw, I'd much rather see that.
Yeah.
A player who's got a chance to get better rather than a one on the way in. But like you said, hint is, will we even see him? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, get a look at him in pre-season. I think the message from Newcastle, from Eddie Howe in particular, is being they want to look at him in pre-season. I think the only caveat to that would be is if a club came in and blew Newcastle's socks off with that £40 million fee we've seen reported.
If anybody does that, Dom, I'm going to be honest with you, you've got to snap the hand off. That isn't even like an argument. If I'm Eddie Howe and I've got a group of players that I'm having to look at really hard, and I've worked with them all season and they've put a proper graft in, even if, we as fans might not think this, that and the other. If I'm him, I look at it and say, he worked really hard for me, he's done everything I've asked of him. I'd probably not rather lose him, but I'll lose the lad who I know nothing of and didn't have a massive amount to do in signing.
Yeah.
Which is also something that's quite important in this decision-making process.
Yeah.
I suspect in an ideal world, if PSR isn't a problem or whatever, Newcastle would just send him on loan, or they would bring him in, have a look, right, go back out on loan. I don't think they'll be thinking of selling him, but if you've got a chance to sell a player that you've never missed and solve all of your problems that you were worrying about getting rid of somebody like, well, he's been here 5 years and I like him and I know he can do a job and I don't really want to get rid of him. You get rid of the lad that you've never seen and you're not losing anything, you're only gaining.
Yeah.
He might turn into Lionel Messi. I doubt it.
You've still made a very decent profit on him, haven't you?
I would doubt it, by the way. That's not being disparaging towards the player. From what I've seen of him, I would doubt that's going to. So I see a lot of fans getting very, very carried away
with how good
they think this kid is. I see people describing him almost like a generational talent. The Gambian Messi, somebody called him the other day. Just
fairly low bar of Gambian football. You could.
Yeah, who's the Gambian Ronaldo?
I don't know.
Anyway, my point is just, we always try and bring some common sense to these things. And if I was out there, I would just temper it a touch, your expectations. He could be unbelievable. He could come here in pre-season, do a day with Eddie Howe, and he might just go, wow.
Or right wing problem is fixed.
This kid stays and we don't need to sign anybody else. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could.
Yeah, I think I'm of a similar mindset. Yankuba Minteh, if someone comes in with a healthy offer, a big offer this summer for him, you have to seriously consider it. But I think Newcastle's ideal situation this summer would be to get a good look at him first in pre-season. Hopefully we'll see him in a match, hopefully here at St James's Park, or at least in Germany, Japan, the pre-season tours they've had scheduled. But when you look at players like Yankuba Minteh, previously at the likes of Man City, Chelsea, they buy players, sell players without you even realising they had them in the first place, and they make money on them, and that sort of gives them a bedrock to build on financially, really. And I think that is what Newcastle could potentially go for here.
There was a few last season I was looking at, I didn't even read, like Pedro Porro. I had no idea he was a Man City player, and then all of a sudden he's at Tottenham, and you're like, well, I had no
James Trafford as well is. We knew he played for Man City, but because of the sell-on clause, but didn't actually play for Man City. Yet they're going to, if Newcastle were to sign him, they stand to make a decent chunk of money from him.
When you have good scouting systems, that's kind of the turnover. This is why Chelsea are able to do what they do a lot of the time. Look, they're selling hotels, and they're probably selling women's teams and all sorts of whatever it is at the moment. But traditionally they just pick up so many good players that they sell them, and they'll never see the Chelsea first team, but they're always picking 4 million, 5 million, 10, 15 here and there. Man City do it all the time. You go to the Bundesliga, it's littered full of ex-Man City players. Like you look down the divisions in England, it's just full of them. They've all loads of them. They turn up back in England and sign for clubs and you don't even realise. So that's good business, really, if you treat football
and
as a business.
And they do turn into world beaters as well. I mean, it's a bit of a not great example, but Champions League finalists, Jadon Sancho was at Man City, and then all of a sudden a superstar for Dortmund. Didn't work for him at Manchester United, but sort of resurrected his career back out there. So you look at what these clubs have produced, and they've sold them on for relatively small fees. It's just part of football, and I think if Newcastle were to do that, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Where Newcastle are as a club right now, if they could make a double, triple their money on Yankuba Minteh, let's go and
I
get
want to
that
see
done.
him. Like, I want to see him, but
the football fan in you and the what you've heard, the expectations surrounding him, his record, some of the goals he's scored out in Holland have been really good as well.
Perfect loan for him.
And it's in a position Newcastle needs. So I would be excited to see him, but it's a heart over head type thing, where you go, right, if someone's going to come in, you've got to seriously consider it.
So the sun is setting here with a beautiful St James's Park behind her.
Yeah, it's become a bit of a regular.
I'm fading back in. I'm slightly shorter than you. Not as much as it shows on this film.
No, it makes you look much smaller.
I look really short compared to you, but I'm fading into the darkness as Lees's Park eats up the sunshine.
It's a nice evening.
Here. Beautiful. And we might be able to bring you a couple more videos. And next week we are 100% going to do the keep and sell video. But we need a little bit of time to prep that, don't we? So
yes,
we'll do that. And we've got our eyes on a little bit of a Mythbusters, transfer Mythbusters one we talked about last week, particularly around some comments from Sky Sports and getting to the bottom of what was actually said in that January meeting that sparked so much transfer controversy. A lot of people describing Darren Eales as blowing the doors open for everybody to sign Newcastle players. We've got the full transcript. We were all in it. We're going to talk to you guys about it at some point too.
Yeah.
We've got a big announcement though. I'll leave it to you.
Well, yes.
Oh, the lights. Oh, this is
lovely.
This is better.
New big announcement that we've been teasing for some time. It's still in the works, still very much in an early process. But the Geordie Journos are coming to TV screens near you. We are.
So, if you guys turn, what's Channel 7, isn't it?
Channel 7.
Yeah. If you guys turn on to Channel 7 on local TV in the northeast, that's right.
Where you have to be based in the northeast.
You do have to be based in the northeast. Apologies. But what we will do is, for anybody that doesn't see those videos, a couple of days later, a slightly later date, we will upload those TV appearances onto the Geordie Journos YouTube, and you'll be able to find that when we share it in the YouTube community, and also when we share that in our Facebook community as well, which you'll be able to find the link to our Facebook community in the community section. So how many communities?
It's a big community.
It's a big community in the community section of YouTube. So the Geordie Journos are coming to TV. It'll be 2 or sometimes, but I'm sure Jordan will turn up, won't he? He'll turn up for the TV. He's a big game player.
Yeah.
He'll be there. So watch out for the Geordie Journos on your screens.
Yeah, it's really positive. Really positive.
Exciting.
I mean, some people go, you've sold out, you're on telly already. No. We now have a professional obligation to make videos, which can only mean good things for us.
More content for you guys?
What's going to be on the telly? It will be on the telly first and foremost, but like Liam said, a couple of days later, it'll be timeless content, hopefully, based around transfers, things like that, at the moment anyway. And
major talking points.
Yeah, just big talking points. What you've come to expect from us over the last 12 months, normal Geordie waffle, and maybe a little bit of insight, analysis and news as well.
We'll have a couple of we'll do a plan as well, have a couple of little sections in there. Might be a little question from one of you guys out there, so do keep sending your questions in, and we'll discuss the major talking points that you guys want us to talk about on TV and on YouTube.
Yeah, so more information to come on that, but that's the big announcement. We'll have more details to come once Liam, the boss man, irons everything out. So yeah,
I'll have to write a plan at some point, and it will come. I'll do it this weekend, I promise. Mr. Organised as ever.
I mean, we never plan these videos. We just turn up with a camera and go, we'll talk about that.
I think that's the joy. I think people quite respect that. I think we never. I think you see too many people have contrived, or they'll already have thought of the headlines before they do these videos, and you'll get these sort of fake opinions, and ridiculous outrage and clickbait, real clickbait. We do a bit of it. Real clickbait headlines. And we just come on and we'll have a chat like we normally would. We'll just be sitting in the pub watching the football anyway, wouldn't we? So we just do it on a camera.
We just have to turn and look at the camera like we do instead of at each other.
We'll have to get the equipment right for the TV though.
Yes, that's another thing as well. We'll get a new tripod for the telly. We've been speaking with our producers,
our paymasters, to get a new tripod, some new
maybe another camera as well. We'll see. We don't want to do too many false promises, but yes, Geordie Journos will be coming to TV. So that's our big announcement, and that was our video. Wrap it up there.
Yep.
T's and C's, Liam, or
have we got any? Four Rivers Financial Planning, big sponsors of our videos. There or there and down there, get all the bits and bobs that you need. Click the bell if you want notifications to all of your devices when a Geordie Journos video pops up. Do get involved in the community. I love chatting with you guys. So do these guys. Join the Facebook. It's
so do these guys.
This man, Jordan does as well.
He's here in spirit.
He is. He's up there. He's up there looking down. you can do.
With Bobby.
You can, so Bobby up there. That's really don't like it. Come and say that.
We can't say
that. Maybe we can. We're just taking the mickey out of those kind of like drawn up pictures you'll see on Twitter or social media.
I'll be up there actually on Sunday. I'm
Are you?
Rooftop tour, St James's Park for Father's Day.
I like that.
Treat me dad.
You're taking your dad, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not just going back. It's not a sad Father's Day. I'm not just by myself. So I'm just looking at the sort of stairwell there. I'll be up there. So.
What you like with heights? Oh yeah. Do your dad like with heights?
I hope he's alright. Otherwise I might be on my own.
You'll find out on Sunday. Right, like, comment, share, subscribe for all your Geordie Journos content, and do watch out on Channel 7 for the Geordie Journos coming right into your screens.